owners of Tata Motors here, famous entrepreneurs of Nizamabad town. Chandra Reddy is from US. Her son is Master Raj. He is a 10th grade student. So he is the one who had conducted the seminar. How many of you all have participated in the seminar? How many of you have given the questionnaire? Survey. Yes. How many of you have done the questionnaires by your own? All of you? Was it interesting? Yeah. So Raj will be introducing about this awareness program. Meanwhile, Veena ma'am will read the biodata of Raj. Okay?
Today's guest and the today's program organizer, Mr. Raj, and all the teachers and my dear students. Good evening everybody once again. Yes, last 15 days back we gave a one link, yes or no, to answer those questions regarding the cyber crime. Yes? So, he is a Mr. Raj, he is from 10th standard from Texas. So, he is going to conduct a seminar or conference regarding the awareness regarding the cyber security on teams. So, now I request Mr. Raj to continue the program.
So first, before I start, I'd like to thank all of you guys for filling out the survey. It's been very helpful. And then I'd also like to thank Mr. Mahendra sir, the president, Ms. Rajni ma'am, and Ms. Veena ma'am, and the rest of the board of the RBVRR society. They've all been very helpful in allowing me to have this opportunity to reach out to all of you guys about the importance of cybersecurity. So thank you to all of them and all of you guys. So first, a little bit about myself. I am, again, Raj Reddy. I go to Greenhill School in Dallas, Texas. I am a rising 10th grader, like most of y'all, I believe. And I'm also a member of Safe Teens Online, which is a global nonprofit dedicated to teaching teens around the world about the importance of cybersecurity and cyber awareness. So a few years ago, I used to study here in Nizamabad at Presidency School. So this Nizamabad has been a very close place in my heart, and I've always wanted to reach out here about my knowledge about cyber awareness, and Safe Teens is allowing me to do so. So that's where I'll get started. So today, my agenda will be about a little bit of starting about what cybersecurity is and why it's important, as well as some major types of cybercrime. Then we'll move on to a little short game, which will just involve some questions. And then we'll talk about the survey you guys filled out. Finally, we'll close off with a little bit about best practices and help and resources that you guys can use. So first, do any of you guys know what cybersecurity or cyber safety is? Anyone want to take a guess? So cybersecurity is the process of keeping our data, our technology, our networks, our systems, all of that, keeping it safe from threats, specifically digital threats. So the reason this is really important is because our world is growing more and more dependent on this technology. So how many guys have used a phone recently, like say today? Or not just a phone, but even just access the internet? There are generally 5 pillars that we usually come up with that target. Okay, so these are some of the very common types of cybercrime. Now, before I talk a little bit more about this, has anyone here ever been affected by like scams or any type of cybercrime? Okay. I'm hearing some no's and yeses. So these are some of the general kinds of cybercrime that most people get affected by. So first, unwanted scams or links that send you scams, and these are generally come from emails or any messages that people will send you, trying to trick you into clicking on them, only for them to take your money or your information. Then there's also phishing. So phishing is a special type of scamming where people will impersonate someone else to take your data. So I'll give you an example here. Recently, my father's someone impersonated my father's credit card company in order to take his information. And they told him that his credit card account, the password of it was changed, and they needed him to set his new password in order to confirm his old one. But in reality, it was just a scam, and they were trying to take his information. So he realized that as soon as he submitted the information, and he called his credit card company, and he told them what happened. Most of the time, this doesn't happen, they just end up taking your money. So that's something we want to keep in mind. And then there's also cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is similar to bullying in the real world, which I assume all of you guys know about. So when we talk about things online, we often don't take into the fact that there's someone at the other end of that screen who's listening or viewing the messages that we're saying. And oftentimes, if that message is a hurtful one, they'll be taking that in a negative way, and it'll end up hurting their mental and emotional state. Then there's also social media hacking. So this is when malicious intenders online will access your social media account and then send messages to everyone in your contacts list, trying to take your data or send messages saying, asking for money from friends or family. So this happened recently to my mother as well. So recently her Instagram account got hacked, and someone sent messages to all of her friends and contacts saying, I need X amount of money from you for this reason. But luckily for her, one of her close friends found this and told her about it, and she immediately posted to on all her socials telling people not to believe this and that this was just a scam. So she took care of it. But unfortunately, that's not what happens all the time. Then there's also fake versions of popular mobile apps. So what are some mobile games that you guys like to play?
Come on, children, respond.
Yeah, so they try to trick you into downloading this. And in the end, all they want is your money or your data. So nothing good ever comes out of downloading these fake games. So it's always a good idea to keep in mind what we are downloading is the actual real thing. Then there's also delivery scams. So I'm sure you've heard of companies like Zomato, Swiggy, and Amazon, right? So these companies, oftentimes, they'll often give you a cash-on delivery payment method. And when you select this, sometimes the delivery drivers will message you early, asking you if you want to pay earlier using a different link, so that you don't have to worry about finding money to pay them when they come. In reality, what happens is, all the money that you pay them through this link doesn't end up going to the company, it just goes into some private bank account of theirs, or of a scammer's, and you just end up losing your money without ever getting the services required. Then finally, there's also work scams. So what these work scams will do is they'll send you a message or an email saying, if you work with us for X amount of time, we'll give you Y amount of dollars, or Y amount of rupees, or whatever, money. But oftentimes, they'll just end up forcing you to work a lot without paying you anything. And in the end, they'll only try to take the money from you. So throughout all of these scams, you can notice one common pattern, and that's taking either your money or your data. Because at the end of the day, that's all they want from you. It's their greedy intent that wants to take your precious data and true or false? Very good job, everyone. Yeah. So even if you delete an image from social media, it's not always gone. Oftentimes, these will be stored on companies' databases or other platforms. And there's also another factor which you can't take into account of, which is the fact that other people might save a photo of the post you made and then keep it on their device. Without any guarantee of who has that image or who has deleted it, you can never know if it's truly gone from the internet. True or false? What if it's endorsed by like a celebrity or someone famous? Is it true or false? Yeah, that's correct. So just because some famous celebrity or someone who's famous just endorsed something, it doesn't always mean something is true, because oftentimes anyone and everyone can post something on the internet and they will claim that it's right even when it's not. So I'll give you a famous example of this. A few years back, a famous basketball player for the Dallas Mavericks, he stated that the earth was flat, which I'm pretty sure all of us here know that the earth is in fact round. But he told his entire fan base that the earth was flat, and they believed him for almost 2 years. now just convinced his entire fan base that he was wrong, and many of his fans still don't believe him because they've fallen that far down into the rabbit. So just because someone endorses something doesn't always make it. Thanks for all filling out the survey. We had 143 responses, so that's been very helpful. So you guys can give yourself a round of applause for that. So based on this graph, we can see that the people who have the highest online presence in your school are people in class 8. So this section, I guess, mainly refers to those class 8 members. Okay, and then we can also see that comparatively between the male and female who submitted, that the female members had a significantly higher usage rate compared to the male members. So that's all the reasons for that. Okay, so based on the data again, you can see that about 79% or 80% of students they spend 1 hour, less than 1 hour online after school every day. So that's another really good number because we want to keep online use outside of school limited as much as we can. So good job on that. So now, here's some takeaways from that survey. So about the majority of your students, around 80% of you guys, know not to share careful or valuable information online, and they know not to share it. So that's a really good thing because we don't want all of your private information to just be floating around the internet on platforms such as Instagram or Facebook because that information is always be used to harm you and used against you. And then we can also see that about 50% of you guys use password protection on your devices. That's a good thing, but we want to get that number higher up because password protection often makes it a lot harder for people to access your data, and it just makes the lives of hackers that much harder. Then we also see that only about 40% of students are knowledgeable about not sharing passwords, and that only 20% of students log onto a public computer. Now we want that number to be higher because we don't want your information to be logged in on public computers because anyone and everyone can access it, and that's not always a good thing. And then we also don't want it's a good thing that some of you know about not sharing passwords because too many people knowing your passwords and data means it makes it a lot easier for people to access your data. So that's good. And then on point 4 and 5, about 60% of parents help students with their online use, as well as about 65% of students gain help from their teachers. Now these are two very good numbers because we want the students to take help and support from parents and teachers because oftentimes these are the people who know most about the technology and the world around us, so we always want their help in dealing with the digital world. Anything can be posted online, but 30% of the students believe that online information is legitimate. So I think we just saw with most of you guys that anything on the internet, just because it's posted or endorsed by celebrity, doesn't always make it true. So that's a really good thing because we want to keep in mind that we should always double check facts and think through what's been posted before just blindly believing it. So good job. And then about 55% of your students are knowledgeable about not sharing friends' photos online without their permission. Another really great number because you don't want to post your friends' information online without them knowing because that information might have something that your friend doesn't want to be online, such as like maybe it's their private information or just photos that they would prefer to be private. So good job on that as well. Also, about 70% of your students believe that chatting online, downloading files, etc. does not leave a digital footprint, but 50% believe that writing a story on a piece of paper does leave a digital footprint. Now, before I talk a little bit more about this, does anyone here know what a digital footprint is? Or would you like some clarification on this? I'll clarify it a little bit, I guess. So, your digital footprint is anything that you do online which is akin to your identity. So, for example, any search history that you have, any files that you download, any thing that you post on Instagram or Facebook, all of that comes under your digital footprint. Because it becomes very easy for people to access your digital footprint since it's easily viewable for anyone. And even if you attempt to hide some of your things, it's easy easy to find out. So your digital footprint is almost akin to that as your identity. So you don't want information like that to be publicly available, or you don't want information like that you want to be kept secret, easily viewable. And then also on the writing a story on a piece of paper, oftentimes when we write something on a piece of paper, it doesn't become your digital footprint unless you turn that into an online post or something like that. Most of the time, anything that's in the physical world will not be included in their digital world. And then also about 30% of students did not know that leaving your digital footprint can actually result in your identity being in jeopardy. That's a number that's really high, which we don't want that high, because your digital footprint access or easily taken from you, because that can always leave you in a bad place. And then finally, about 80% of you students have not experienced online theft or harm, and that's a really good thing, which we saw earlier, because it shows that all of you guys are attempting to be safe online. Good job on that. Okay, while this loads, the next part is going to be about best practices. So does anybody here have any practices that they do to ensure their data? So anyone can take it. But how many of you use like numbers and hyphens and exclamation marks in your password? Yeah. So yeah, that's an example of a safe practice online. So these are things we want to do in order to keep our data safe. So two-factor authentication is when you set up your device in a way, or your account in a way that always sends a ping to your email or your phone, telling you that someone is trying to log into your account. Now, this is something that you always want to set up, because with it, it makes it a lot harder for people to access your account without you knowing. So you should always... Hello? Okay. So you should always try to implement two-factor authentication, because it will make the lives of hackers that much harder. And then some other best practices include keeping your password safe from and not sharing it as easily. For example, I wouldn't be sharing my password with anyone that I meet on the street. Of course, I would be sharing it with my parents or my grandparents, because I can trust them. But sharing it with anyone that you don't know is not always a good idea, because they can always use that against you. And also remember to be careful about what files you download, because you never know what files are going to be sent to you. Do any of you know what a zip bomb is? Yeah, a zip bomb. No? Okay, so to explain what that is, when you zip a file, you compress it and make it a lot smaller. But oftentimes when you zip a file, you can compress huge amounts of data. So you've probably heard of like megabytes, gigabytes, right? So there's something about that called petabytes and terabytes. So that huge amount of data can be compressed into one singular megabyte. And when you do that, you can send it as a singular file. These are called zip bombs, because it's like you're compressing a huge amount of data into something very tiny, and when someone opens it, it crashes their computer or their phone or whatever device they're using. So files like these can be very dangerous, because they can always destroy your devices or anything that you're using. So we have to be very careful about what files we're opening up and who we're accepting these files from. And then also, the last 2 points on this slide are about antivirus. So how many of you know what antivirus is? Okay. So how many of you guys actually use antivirus? How many of you know that antivirus is like installed on your phone? It always, inspects the files you're using, what type of software you're using. It's something that you want to always keep regularly updated and installed on all your devices. So even if you know someone online that claims to be your close friend, you never really know who they actually are until you meet them in person. So you should never try to go outside and meet them, because there'll always be someone different from who you originally thought. And sometimes this could always lead in a very bad direction and end up with them trying to be like kidnappers or anything of that sort. So we always want to be careful about who we're meeting with in person compared to online. And then also know what to share and what not to share. I think based on the survey, we've seen that a lot of you guys know exactly what type of information to share online, because it shows that you guys know not to share private information, which is good. So But always remember to keep in mind what type of information you're sharing online. And then also remember to limit your screen time. So I know you've seen that you guys use about less than 1 hour of screen time every day outside of school. But again, how much time do you think you spend on the weekends on your phone or online? 1 hour? Okay. 3 hours? 4 hours? Okay, yeah. So I heard 3 hours, 4 hours, 1 hour. So these are numbers we want to keep lower because when they're lower, then when the number gets higher, like over 5 hours, over 4 hours, over 3 hours, it often results in emotional like mood swings or emotional like changes because when we get stuck into these online devices, we lose control of what we want to watch or what we do. And it often just leads to a bad, worse relationship with our family and other close people. So limiting your screen time with parental control is always a good thing. And then in addition to that, just remember to keep your grandparents and elders in your family in the loop because oftentimes in addition to ourselves, they're the ones falling prey to these scams too because they don't know about this digital world as much as we do. To think about it, the digital world really only came to play like 25, 30 years ago. And before that, not a lot of people had a lot of experience with it. So even ourselves today are struggling to learn the true breadth of the digital world. So we always want to keep keep them in the loop about what's happening. And then finally, just remember to keep your social media accounts secure and private. You don't want anyone and everyone on the internet accessing and viewing stuff that you don't want to be out there. So that's a good idea to do. Okay, what is the first thing that you would do? Yeah, someone said. So yeah, informing parents is a good start, but like that person said, the national hotline number is always there. So it's a government-funded number, like similar to calling 100 for the police or 108 for the ambulance. So it's something you always want to keep note of. 1930. So this number, it's going to give you steps about how to take care of your cybercrime situation and offer you assistance throughout it. So always remember that if you ever face a scam or any other situation like that, just call that number and they'll help you out. This is actually really useful because in other countries like the US, they don't show this number as much or it's not used as much. So there's not a lot of funding or help behind it. So it's a really good thing that India has this and it's a useful resource for all of you to have. And then in addition to that, there's also the official cybercrime website, which is cybercrime.gov.in. That's another website that you guys can use because it'll always offer you helpful tips and steps to take. And then if any of you also wanted to spread awareness about this and become an ambassador like me, you can always reach out to my email, which I listed over here. And I'll also be sharing these slides. So if you ever wanted to reach out to me, you can always just ask one of their admins. They'll be able to tell you my email. So, okay, so, no, of course, anyone can just shout it out. I'll bring up the example of my mom. Sometimes your family or close friends will notice that you've been hacked because oftentimes when hackers use your accounts and your data, it's not always going to sound like your voice, it's going to sound like some random person. So when this happens, they'll often alert you. And even if they don't, you should always just try to keep an eye out for suspicious activity that's happening on your account. So just, main things are keep an eye out for suspicious activity and any specific emails that are sent to you about your account being hacked. So those are two really good ways to know if you've been hacked. Okay. funds are for their greedy intent. So when most of the time when you get scammed, they want to take two things: your money and your data. And then again with your data, they'll just sell it back to some other company or use it for their own gain just to get more money. So the overall reason is just one. It's been very helpful. Thank you.
We are aware and your program made us aware. The cybers can hack and try how to protect our mobiles and not to share passwords for unknown calls. We are going to inform parents, grandparents, surroundings. Thank you.
You guys have been a great audience, so thank you for listening. And I'm Raj's mom, and I wanted to say thank you, a vote of thanks to the honorary members of the RBVRR Society, our President Mahinder sir and the whole team, Rajani ma'am, Veena ma'am, Amarjit sir, for helping us put this together. Thank you for the opportunity for Raj. He's able to move forward with spreading this goal and reaching out to more students. If anyone else is interested in doing what Raj is doing, you can become an ambassador just like him. So I think he already went over it. And I also wanted to say thank you that you guys are actually very fortunate, because as soon as we presented this idea to Rajani ma'am, she immediately thought how useful it is for all of you. So really appreciate you for understanding the importance of a topic like this, and thanks for all your support. Our school, but you're contributing to the society. Thank you so much.
I'm also a member of Safe Teens Online, which is a global non-profit dedicated to teaching teens around the world about the importance of cybersecurity and cyber awareness. So this program here was to educate these students about the importance of cybersecurity as an extension of Safe Teens Online's mission. So recently, a few weeks back, many of these students completed a survey about their online behavior, about their online presence and other things like that. And then based on the results of these surveys, I conducted a presentation and seminar for all of these students about what the results of that survey were, and then some best practices and types of cyber crimes that these students will face and how to best protect against that. So that's what this entire seminar was about. నా పేరు రాజ్. నేను గ్రీన్ హిల్ స్కూల్లో 10th క్లాస్ మెంబర్. నేను యూఎస్లో ఉంటా, కానీ నేను ఆల్సో సేఫ్ టీమ్స్ ఆన్లైన్ ఒక గ్లోబల్ నాన్ ప్రాఫిట్ గురించి నేను పార్ట్ ఉంటాను. సో ఆ నాన్ ప్రాఫిట్ మిషన్ ఏంటంటే టీనేజర్స్ పిల్లలు వరల్డ్ మొత్తంలో సైబర్ అండ్ ఆన్లైన్ అవేర్నెస్ చెప్పడానికి. సో దాంతో పాటు నేను ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి ఒక సెమినార్ ఇచ్చిన. ఆ సెమినార్లో నేను సర్వే గురించి చెప్పిన, బెస్ట్ ప్రాక్టీసెస్ ఇంకా స్కామ్స్ అవంతా గురించి చెప్పిన. సో ఫ్యూ వీక్స్ బ్యాక్ ఈ పిల్లలు అందరూ ఒక సర్వే కంప్లీట్ చేసినారు. వాళ్ళ ఆన్లైన్ ప్రెజెన్స్ గురించి, ఆన్లైన్లో ఏం చేస్తున్నారు దాని గురించి ఒక సర్వే కంప్లీట్ చేశారు. నేను దాని గురించి కొంచెం ఈరోజు మాట్లాడినా. సో అదే ఈ సెమినార్ ఉండే.
ఈరోజు RBVRR స్కూల్లో 8th 9th క్లాస్ పిల్లలకు స్ప్రెడ్డింగ్ అవేర్నెస్ అబౌట్ సైబర్ సెక్యూరిటీ గురించి మా డైలాస్ గ్రీన్ హిల్స్ స్కూల్లో 10th క్లాస్ చదువుతున్న రాజ్ రెడ్డి ఈజ్ బిలాంగ్స్ టు అవర్ నేటివ్ నిజామాబాద్. మా నిజామాబాద్ ప్రముఖ వ్యాపారవేత్త శ్రీ మైపాల్ రెడ్డి గారి మనవడు ఇక్కడ వచ్చి మా పిల్లలకు 8th 9th పిల్లలకు మోటివేషన్ స్పీచ్ ఇచ్చి పిల్లలను ఆన్లైన్ మోసాల గురించి, మొబైల్ మోసాల గురించి చాలా బాగా అవేర్నెస్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఇచ్చాడు. ఆయనకు మా RBVR ఎడ్యుకేషన్ కమిటీ తరఫున కృతజ్ఞతలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాం.